Good day, everyone. And we should be going live on our platforms as well. You guys that are in Zoom, anybody that has any questions or anything like that, you can put them on the Zoom link, and Zach will be monitoring. Glad everybody's here. We are in our Power of the Creative Imagination seminar and the Power of the Self-Image. Just a little quick intro. You guys should know who we are, but if not, we are an Institute of the Mind. This Institute of the Mind was developed to advance and enable people to really learn more of who they are and advance their consciousness to live a better life. This all started off with a vision that started off many years ago in the advancement of myself and who I wanted to become and where I was going in life. I took on personal development, and I took it on personally, and I took it very serious, because I knew that the only way that I could advance and go beyond who I was and where I was to invest in myself. And you guys that are looking at this right now are here, and if you're here, it's because you are interested in advancing and having a better life, going beyond where you're at, and really setting the bar maybe for yourself, for your family, and where you want to go. Because the only thing that we could do is express what we already are. And this is where I came to at a point in my life where I had gone as far as what I knew how to do. And the minute we get to what we know how to do, the average individual conforms. And I thought that fairly peculiar. I looked around growing up and I saw poverty. And I would look around and I saw very few people that were outside of the realm, but the majority were within impoverished regions to middle class regions, and the extended section of that was between medium and lower, and there was the majority. And I remember looking at this through my whole life, through the zip codes, through the cities, and here I was evaluating, well, what separates consciousness and what makes one person different from the next? And why is it that so many people are actually stuck? Why is it, when I started to look at the numbers and I started to look at the equations and I started to look at, why is it that only 1% are earning over 500,000, maybe I think it's 300,000 annually? That means 98%, 97% are under $200,000. I think it was, and if we look at the numbers, you can look them up, 90% are earning under $100,000. Why is that? Isn't that weird? And through this investigation, and then I'm investigating around the world, and then I'm seeing the normal economy and how much they normally earn, and I'm finding people, the average is 40 to 60 grand. Accident. And then I'm looking at the college and universities, and I'm looking at this common occurrence where people are pretty much capping out. And it's very few people that are earning over 150, even less at 300. And only 0.5, a half of a percent, earn $500,000 plus annually. How is that possible? And through this research, I started to understand that there was more to life than meets the eye, and more to a better understanding of, it's not just a physical world, it's an energetic world. And in the understanding, it's more than just an energetic world, it's a vibrational world. And then matter as we see it just has slowed down to the rate that we're able to see with the eye. And through this investigation, I started to know that there was more to life than what meets the eye. And that's why you're here. If you're here, it's because you've been led intuitively, and you want to grow and you want to have a better, more prosperous life. I started to invest in myself and change my life many years ago, and I did it with a vision. I did it with goals. I've been doing this with goals. And the more I understood that the goals are not to get, they're to grow. And as you're growing and you're advancing to your goal, the person you're becoming along the way is somebody different. You're not the same person in a year. You're not the same person in 2 years, 3 years. If you're continually setting goals and you're continually working to those goals and you're continually breaking the paradigms. You're breaking the programming, the self-beliefs, the ideas of yourself, your knowledge, your current knowledge. If you're continually firing and rewiring, re-educating your mind, you're becoming somebody different. You no longer have the same beliefs. You no longer think the same. Your mindset is changing and you're changing. And that is not normal. As I continued this approach, I was evolving. My intelligence was evolving. And as that intelligence was evolving, I was starting to think different, to see different, to act different, to do things differently. And this was not normal. And the more I researched it, success was not normal. And you're going to find out that success is rare. And that's why so very few people do it. And that's why when I would go back to my years as a young man, seeing what I was seeing was absolutely normal. It was normal. Seeing people earning $30,000 to $50,000 a year was normal. And when I started to find out the people, the family members that were earning from 20 to 30, all those children, it took 6 generations on an average to break the molds. People that are on welfare, they say it takes people that are on welfare 6 generations to get out of welfare. This is completely normal. And this is not just, I'm just not just saying it, it's in the archives. It's in the history books. The people they were born from $30,000 to $50,000 a year, the average generationally is advancing maybe 10, 15% at most. That means that a whole lifetime is growing on an average of 10 to 15%. And that is completely normal. And then when I'm looking at society, I'm saying, my God, how many? That means my children, the average for them to make a quantum leap or a change would normally be only 10 to 15, maybe 20%. And I said, my God. So what we're dealing with here is more than just actions and more just than a physical world. We're talking about energy. We're talking about intelligence. And why is the intelligence not making a quantum leap? And why is it so hard for people and their intelligence to change and change the way they think and change the habits and behaviors to go where they truly want to go? And in this advancement, I was changing, and I would notice that as I was wanting to advance, it was almost like I was hitting blocks. And I would get to a level, and it was almost like every time I feel like I'm advancing, something would want to move it away. If I earned more money, the money wanted to go somewhere else. If I started something, it would want to pull me back in. And I started to notice, well, we're living, this is more than just physical. There's something energetically happening here. And the more I researched and the more I was understanding, I was really researching and understanding was life. I was understanding quantum mechanics. I was understanding physics. I was starting to understand the law of vibration, law of attraction. I was starting to understand the law of polarity. What I was studying and going into work, having this vision of building companies, I was studying life and the way life actually works. And in doing that, and in changing me, I started to understand a better approach to advancing ourselves, a better approach on how to make that quantum leap and how to stay on track. In doing this, I was working with other people, working on myself, of course, and then building companies. And in doing this, I would see the programming, I would see the paradigms. And at the time, I was not well versed in the communication of the mind and how it works. And I was changing, but I wanted to be able to teach this to the people that surrounded me. And I ended up getting a phone call from some businessmen, and I ended up being introduced to Bob Proctor. The minute I heard him, I knew he knew what he was talking about, because he was studying a lot of the same books, or he was reading on the same things that I was reading up on, and it was studying the mind. It was studying consciousness. It was getting a better understanding of who and what we truly are and how we work. And he had a way to communicate it. So immediately I jumped on a plane and I went to go meet him. And I liked the material, fell in love with the material. I knew he had a solid program. And immediately I wanted to be taught by him, because he had a really phenomenal way of communicating and teaching and applying the information. And he also had the backing of the results, recorded results on the individuals that he'd been working with for 60 plus years. And through this, I started to develop my abilities in communication and teaching this information. I brought it back to our companies to where I could do it more appropriately in a manner to where people could understand it and then execute it. And doing that, we've evolved, our companies have evolved. The goal and the mission from the beginning was to have institutes of the mind globally. So we're working towards building institutes of the mind, and the goal is every country around the world. And we are on their way of doing that. And by doing this, we can successfully leave something beyond our time. And when we can impact people beyond our generations and our time, we're truly helping. And we're truly advancing humanity. And it's not about just what we do for ourselves, it's about what we do for others. And that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. And this is how I give back. I used to invest lots of money in people, but money never changes anyone. The money is a byproduct. Now, if I invest, I'll invest in teaching them how to invest in themselves and how to change who they are. I learned a long time ago that money will not change people, and it doesn't matter how much money they want. If they're not willing to work on their mindset, change their beliefs, they can't have the money. The money will find a way to leave, because if you're not in harmony with it, you'll always find a way to push it away from you. We're energy. And if we're not in harmony with that energy, as we move, and as you move, conditions and circumstances adjust to you. This is the way it works. This is life. We've seen it at a physical level. We've never really understood it at an energetic level. And we're going to go through all that in this process. I'm going to also call on Emily. Emily's going to help us out, maybe Autumn. And we're going to go through we're going to touch lightly. This seminar is going to be more directed towards creative imagination and your self-image. We're going to touch a little bit on the mind and how the mind works, so we get a better understanding of the mind. And as we get a better understanding of the mind, we can understand our relationship between how we think and then our results. I'm going to get started with the brain versus the mind. The brain is an electronic switching station. How does that work? Well, when Einstein left, scientists know the minute that your energy leaves, the moment that divine spark, that energy leaves, immediately the body flatlines and it immediately begins to decompose. Immediately, it begins to disappear. You will see it from something go back into nothing. If you sit there long enough, you'll watch it disappear. Why? Because the energy that was given life to that form is no longer communicating to the brain and the organs, and it's gone. They can measure it. They can measure this energy when it comes in, and they can measure it when it comes out. If there's no communication between that divine energy, primal substance in the body cannot exist. There's been families that are children are born stillborn. The essence was not able to connect to the brain, and therefore it cannot express. It cannot begin to learn, comprehend, originate. So the brain is an electronic switching station. The mind is the movement that moves energy and ideas through the brain to what we call our limbs, our hands, right? So as we begin to think, and thinking means imagining. Thinking means imagining. I want you to use that word from now on and just try it differently. Instead of saying, what did you think? Why don't you imagine? You're going to start to see the minute, instead of saying, I'm going to think about it, I'm going to imagine about it. you're going to begin to set up a higher set of vibration, and you're going to start to go further beyond what you would have normally have been thinking. Start using the word, instead of thinking, imagine. Imagine beyond. What's the next step? Imagine beyond. What's the next step? Imagine beyond. This is what I've been doing for several years. Now, my circumstances that are surrounding me were all created by my imagination. How many people can say that? This is why this is not normal. How many people can say right now that everything was created or developed by their imagination? Not very many when it's a controlled process. But the truth is, each and every one of us have created our reality through our imagination. We're going to go through that a little bit later on, but each and every one of us are masterminds. The vision I received didn't come from me. It came from a higher awareness. I asked for my purpose in life for years, looking for my purpose. What is my purpose? My purpose. I knew I was here. I knew I was meant for more. Now, putting my finger on that more, for years, researching, searching my purpose in life. And finally, it took me back to the little child that remembered he was more than just a body. In understanding that I was more than just a little body, I knew that I was essence inside of a little body. I knew that I was a spiritual intelligence living in a body. And because I had that recognition, I knew that I was more. So for years, I was looking for my purpose for what I was here at this time. Years later, I'm looking for my purpose. And because, again, what you look for, you find. What you look for, you find. Because I was looking for my purpose, I found my purpose. And in that, the name, well, the mission was build multiple sources of income, build many companies, and to show me what companies to start off with. And immediately I started. And in that, as well, at the end, the goal, the outcome was developing human consciousness. And the name would be I Am Mastermind. Now, I Am Mastermind is, the theory on this is that everybody's a mastermind. We're just not consciously aware of what we're doing. We're just going along through life, just doing things and not really taking responsibility. But we all have created our reality according to beliefs, ideas, visions, imagination, intuition, our inspiration. But everybody's a mastermind. And at the end, I put master the mind and master your reality, because there's only one thing that we could ever master, and it's our mind, the way we think. We master our mindset, we master the way we think, and then we can rearrange life itself. But we do that through understanding, and that's what we're going to teach here. Brain versus the mind. Emily, I'm going to let you come in, and let's get started on the mind and how it works. Again, the mind is an energy. It's energetic the moment of inception, the minute. The spiritual intelligence is connected with the DNA. It's processing information. You're going to have to flip your mic on. And the minute you begin to think, you begin to process information from the environment. There's no other way. We had no choice coming in. The minute we came in, I fell in 1970, the last day of 1979. So immediately I began to think from my environment, understand from my environment, originate, or so I thought, originate. I'm plucking ideas from everyone around me. And because the subconscious mind cannot reject, it just accepts everything that's going on and thinks of it as truth. So here I do the only thing that I can do, just like my daughter and just like everyone else. We begin to what? Think like they do, act like they do, walk like they do, imagine like they do. But then we begin to aspire. And this is where the mind starts to shift and want to make its own life. And I'm going to let you take over and introduce the mind.
So what is the mind? Does anyone know?
I kind of tapped on it and went through it, just the beginning of it. So this is where we'll get into, you can ask questions and then we can go into the stick person.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone know what the mind is? Or want to give any guesses as to what the mind may be? Are you? Mind is everything, okay?
Very good.
Well, it takes the messages from the brain.
Yes. So, kind of like what Arya said and kind of like what you said. So the difference between the mind and the brain, it's very important for us to understand. So the brain itself is a transmitter that helps us go through and utilize our higher faculties. If you guys don't know what that is, it's going to be see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. So utilize that to act with our subconscious. So that's going to be the mind. The mind is where we think, where we grow, where we decide, make decisions, and use ultimately our imagination, which is going to be thinking. So the brain is an electronic switching station.
And it moves the body into action all day long, right? We do this. As we think, to the right. Yep. As we think, we are moving the body parts into action, transmuting the ideas into motion, just like clockwork. You begin to think, what are you doing? You're transmuting the ideas that you're thinking, which are unseen, right? Can y'all see the words that I'm saying right now? Do you see the word that I'm saying? No, it's unseen, right? But the reason you guys are able to understand what I'm saying is because you have cells of recognition of the words that I'm saying. If I were to wanted to speak to you, and let's say you're from Spain, and I wanted to get you to understand me, I would have to speak in a different language. I would have to speak in your tongue, right? Your native tongue, so that we could what? Communicate and understand. So if you weren't programmed with English and you have no clue, all the words that I'm saying would be foreign to you. You would have no clue, right? Why? Because for every word that we have a symbol, and we have an emotion attached to it, intention, which is direction. That's how we learned, right? So the subconscious mind, we're going to go to this. Conscious mind is our intellect. Subconscious mind is where we're programmed. So because y'all have cells of recognition for every word, there's a symbol, there's a meaning behind it. The meaning behind it is a symbol, and then the intention behind it, right? So I'll give an illustration. And I just illustrated how you cannot see my words, right? But you see them flashed on the screen of the mind. And I'm going to show you how. Dog, cat, refrigerator, TV. Each and every one of you, for every word I'm saying, you're seeing in your mind, even though you cannot see it here, but in your mind, which is unseen, but you're still getting the flashes on the screen of your mind. I want you to go to the very first puppy that you can remember. Can you remember it? What color is it?
Brown.
Okay. Puppy. 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 Every time I say the word puppy, and you go back to the little puppy that you can remember, you're going back to your image, right? Are you going to mine? Because you can't tap into my field, but you can tap into yours. Who else can see a puppy? You can. Arya, you see? And if I say television, or how about this? Television with the old antennas. So every time I'm saying a word, because you have cells of recognition and you got the old antennas, and maybe grandma would tell you to hold it just right there, right? Because what am I doing right now? Even though you don't see the words, for every word that I have, you're picking up your ideas and your images that are on the screen of your mind, and then you're still actually seeing it. Yes? So now I just taught you guys that you do think in images, and they do flash on the screen of your mind, but it's on your screen.
Can I touch lightly on something? Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and one of the biggest things about this too that I want you guys to become aware of, so for any of you that have children, the reason why it's important for us to learn this information and understand how the mind works is going to be because, for example, if I were to ask Arya, and Liam's not here right now either, but that's Taha's son. If I were to ask them, what image do they see when I ask them about a car or a vehicle? They are going to say, I did ask this question once in class, And Liam jumped up, he raised his hand, and he goes, "Ooh, I know, a Lamborghini." And he just gave me the perfect image of what that looks like. And so for some of the other children in the class, whenever I asked this question, some of them had different answers. But it's very important for us to understand this information because our children as well, they're receiving information and they're receiving an emotional attachment with that image. So they're being programmed from the age 0 to 7. And this is important for us to understand because now we can take a step back and ask ourselves, what was our program from 0 to 7? And this is how we can utilize the imagination and become more aware of our own thoughts and be able to change them.
And they'll understand that better once we get into drawing the stick person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this a little bit. If you would get started on drawing the stick person. Stick person was created by Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1934. He understood that doctors all over the world were treating patients, but they were treating them from the neck down. They were treating the symptoms. He knew that every time they would see somebody and they're talking to him, that the doctor was trying to figure out what was going on without really treating the person holistically. And he knew that every problem that's outside of the body is a representation of what's going on inside of their mind, the way they think, because everything is electronic. It's mind movement. Everything you're thinking, if it's negatively charged, you're sending that through the body. So he knew that they were treating patients and they were treating people from the neck down. They were just treating the symptoms, so they're never really fixing the problem. So he was trying to get to the source of the problem, and which everything is energy and everything is thought. And because everything is energy and everything is thought, he needed a picture, because we think in pictures. Right now, for you guys, everyone to understand what I was saying, I had to give you words that you had pictures of so you could understand what I was saying. And so he created an image so that we can understand the mind and the body and our results. So I'm going to finish reading this as she finishes up here. The body is the instrument of the mind, taking orders from the brain. Clearly understand that the brain can only move according to the mind, which is unseen to the human eye. Clearly understand that the brain can only move according to the mind, which is unseen to the human eye. But visible action produced from its originating source, your thoughts. As you think, you move. Right? You gentlemen started to embark into a new venture. A lot of people are saying, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? Right? Maybe your family members say, well, why would you leave your job? Why would you do that? You have security. What are you thinking? Stay there, do this, do that. Why would they tell you that? Because they're talking to you from their beliefs. Right? That's not normal. You're going away from the pack and what they do. That's not normal. That's not what we do. But they didn't see the image you're working with because it's unseen. You're walking around and you're going and doing things that are completely out of the norm, and they're wondering, what is he thinking? Because they can't see your image. But you're being moved by an image, an internal guide. Let's look at this again. The body, this is it. This is the instrument of the what? The mind, which is unseen. The body is the instrument of the mind, taking orders from the brain. Clearly understand that the brain can only move according to the mind, which is unseen to the human eye, but visible action produced from its originating source, your thoughts. The brain is an electronic switching station. It is a broadcasting and receiving station. The brain is a broadcasting and receiving. Inside of every brain, this has been known many years ago. A lot of people don't talk about it, but this phone is beneath what you can do. You talk to this and you can say, find me X, right? And it starts to read you off the idea. But how many times have you really sat down and imagined beyond where you're at to X? And you start to get flashes on the screen of your mind. Isn't that the way it all started? Right? How many, you guys started to sit down, where did your ideas come from? Now we're beginning to think. Now we're beginning to understand. You see, where did the intelligence come from to build this? That means if the guy that can build this and can make it do things, Where did he get the idea to go do those things? Go ahead. Imagination. We have not changed the laws of the universe. We just began to start to understand them. And really, what we're seeing is the reproduction of somebody studying the laws of the universe. How did that man come up with the idea and get this machine to do things in a certain way? They were studying the universe. They were studying what I've been studying and what we're teaching now. Brain, electronic switching station. Thomas Edison, how did he get the idea to illuminate the world? Imagination. He began to sit down and think. Brain, broadcasting and receiving station. He wanted to harness the light. He had an image, and he kept thinking about the image. He kept getting emotionally involved with the image. He kept feeling the image, and here comes thunderbolts of lightning, ideas coming into to his brain, and he received the idea. Why did he get the idea? Because he was emotionally involved with the idea. So where's the gift? We're going to find that out. The gift is in every person. Where's our superpower? Where's our superpower? We were born with it. The brain is an electronic switch station. It is a broadcasting and receiving station. When we think, look at this, when we think, we send out ideas, visions, and we receive in return like-minded information returned from the ether. Marconi said, this has been written, Marconi said that he would connect every stately manor from one mansion to the next around the world. And he would connect it through the ether. Now, since then, we further developed, and that's why we have these apparatuses. We have GPS. But at that time, his friends put him in a mental institution. They thought he was gone crazy. He came out of the institution, and he went and done it. What is our mind connected to? What is the brain connected to? Universal intelligence. And this is where we're beginning to understand, and we're beginning to understand where ideas come from. Part of them. Creative imagination is the receiving thoughts, the receiving set. Impulses sent out from your dominant thoughts. Creative imagination is the receiving set. As you begin to think and imagine and go beyond, you are sending a vibration out, and then you will begin to receive back. This is your intuition, is the receiving set, which receives impulses sent out from your dominant thoughts. When thoughts are stimulated with a desire, this steps up your vibration. Increasing thought, ideas and visions. We must direct our thoughts. This means the mind. Thoughts are like GPS to definite ends, to receive direction which will come back to you in plans and visions. The body is a machine driven by the brain, but guided by the mind. As we begin to think and think something is possible, and you make a mental decision, I'm going to go there, and there's a place. Universal intelligence, by law, must send you ideas and visions on the how. Now, controlling that is a different story. And we're going to go through that here in a minute. I'll let you go ahead and get started on the way energy moves.
So here we have the sick person. So the sick person is actually by Dr. Thurman Fleet, and we are going to utilize it so that we can understand and have an image of the mind.
To understand that movement.
Right, because we did go through the difference as far as the mind and the brain. Okay, so within this image, at the top right here, we do have our conscious mind. And just underneath it, we have the subconscious, then we have the body. So does anyone know the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious? Arya? What's the difference?
Can you give her the mic? Julian, can you hand it, or George, can you hand the mic? What's the difference, Arya? It's on.
The difference is one is imagination.
Okay. So that's going to be our conscious mind. That's where we can think and that's where we pull in ideas from the ether, right?
I'll help you out on that. Where's our blue? You got the blue?
Yeah.
Let me draw real quick.
Right, I was about to get to it.
Okay. I went ahead of you.
Perfect. Hey.
So when Arya pulled up a really good aspect, and I want to break it down a little bit more. A lot of times we don't illustrate the full function. The subconscious mind
has not gone over this consciousness yet.
is universal mind, UI, universal intelligence. So, but we also have memories in here. So it's both. Our consciousness uses intellect, and I'll let you carry on.
Okay.
So we'll touch more on that a little bit later on.
Okay, Arya,
She's getting ahead.
do you want to finish what the subconscious is? Go ahead. Go ahead. So no, that's okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the subconscious, this is going to be the storehouse of information. So right here, Abraham did draw a filing cabinet for us. So this is where all of if you think of a pyramid, for example, so the pyramid has a foundation. So that's going to be our beliefs. That's going to be everything we learned between 0 to 7. So that program that we were talking about, beliefs, anything that we heard, saw, the way we talk, to the way we dress, to the way we walk, to the way we carry ourselves. That's going to be all programmed in our subconscious mind. And so Abraham's actually drawing it right here on the other side. So from 0 to 5, this conscious mind is not here yet. So
it's not developed.
Right. So it's completely open. So whatever that child just sees or is around, it's stored in there. So if you think about that pyramid, that is the foundation for how we as adults go through life, and that's how we pull information from the filing cabinet right there.
So this information came from our family members, right? Our family members directed us. Where'd their information come from? Dad and mom.
Their mom and dad.
Their energy came together and made the nucleus of you. As you were born, this divine spark within came in, and it came into a body, came into a child. As it came into this child, this divine spark, which is energy, is given life. But it's given life to the ideas from these two parents. And as that genetics comes together, it begins to create a formula. It begins to form a what? A body. So it starts to begin to what? Bring all of dad's information and mom's information to become one nucleus, which is you now. But as it done that, your intelligence, your spiritual intelligence, from the time it came in to the day it leaves, some here time in the future will put 144 years of age when you leave. That essence, the minute it leaves, again, scientists know the minute it leaves. It's no longer in the body flatlines. But the moment of conception, it came in, but what it came into and what it's given life to is to all that DNA. That's why you look like your family members, right? So it's given life to that DNA, and as long as you live through this period of time, you're expressing that genetic code. And you're also going to express the what? The environmental coding. So we have programming from their genetics, which is DNA, and then we have environmental programming. So we have two programs, just like a computer. We have programming from our DNA, and then we have the program from the environment. We could not reject the ideas. Why? Our subconscious was completely open. So whoever we were around, whether we were raised, whoever raised us was the environmental programming. It could have been mom, dad, it could have been one parent, it could have been aunt, uncles, it could have been other family members, but whoever you were around, you could not reject those ideas, and they were just accepted. And this was the beginning of a lifelong process that you call your self-image.
Yes.
And I'll let you carry on from there.
And the really great thing about that, though, is that now after 0 to 5, now you have your conscious mind, and that's based out of whatever is in your program in your subconscious. So now you can consciously accept or reject any idea. But
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's go through the motion of the mind.
Okay.
Let's finish introducing the rest of it.
Okay. So
Conscious mind is our intellect.
yes. So with the conscious mind, you can consciously accept or reject any ideas. And then the subconscious is going to be our list of operating instructions.
Our intellect comes from the storehouse.
Right.
Our subconscious is preordained. So when we think right in here in the center of our core, I call this the raison d'etre of the whole thing, the nucleus of the whole thing. As this thing is vibrating, it never stops. The minute of conception, this thing never stopped. It never stopped vibrating. And this is what we call the perpetual transmutation of thought energy. Perpetual transmutation of thought energy, right? So this perpetual transmutation of thought energy, we call it the mind, in a simpler word. But this thing never stops. When you go to bed, it's still moving. When you're walking around, it's still moving. When you take a little nap, it's still moving. It is perpetually moving ideas, and it never stops. The only time it'll ever stop, and from a physical state to an energetic state, is when it's left the body. But as long as it's thinking, it's sending information, and it's giving life to the instrument, what we call the body. So as you're perpetually moving these ideas, you're vibrating. And what are you vibrating? You're thinking from everything that was programmed in here.
Correct.
And as you think, here comes flashing on the screen of whose mind? Yours, the idea. And your body does what? The body feels the ideas, and it moves into action, producing what we call results. You want to?
You want me to?
I'll write them up here. Up here are the antennas, and they are the senses. We hear. You can hear us right now. As you hear, you get emotion involved, you can listen. And as you listen, you get really stimulated. If I say dog, whoop, cat, whoop, because you can hear me and you understand the word because you already have the word analoged in your subconscious mind, and it flashes on the screen of your mind. So now we're understanding the way energy works. Now, as we begin to feel it, the body feels, sends the transmitters to the body feels it, and then it's moving into action. And Emma, how much of our action was actually creative?
Done on purpose?
Done on purpose? Or is it actual pre-programmed beliefs and ideas?
So 90% of the time, it's going to be based off of the subconscious. So it's going to be our pre-program.
So
The reason being is because most people aren't consciously thinking. So most people are seeing, they're looking on the outside and seeing their results. And so instead of thinking from here, they're thinking from here.
and from there.
Right. And the reason why they're thinking from here, because they're already attracting this, because that's their belief. So whatever you're in harmony with, you're going to find. So, for example, have any of y'all ever gone somewhere and you just matched with match with people and it just comes easy and you guys just get along and they're in the same group as you. Has that ever happened to anyone? Would probably, most likely, all of us.
Happens all the time.
Yes. So that's based off of our subconscious. So that's our beliefs. That's what we are automatically attract to us.
And we attract people alongside the same vibration because it's what we know.
Correct.
Why do you feel comfortable with people that you know? Because y'all have the same programming. That's why. Hey, you guys ever notice in school there was those different batches of kids? And those different batches of kids, they weren't just batches of kids on accident. They were all in the same vibration.
It was on purpose. And
so here's the
usually
law of
their
vibration.
family, the same. Yeah.
According to the family members, again, I was saying it earlier, 20 to 30,000, or let's say 10 to $20,000, programming, according to the family members who came into. It's rare that somebody breaks the cycle. Then you have, let's say, 30 to 50. If they were born in that cycle, that's their law of vibration. And when I say that's their law of vibration, that's their beliefs and thoughts, right? We don't do what we do by accident. We do it because that's what we know how to do. The minute we begin to think, and this person begins to think, I want a better life. What do? You begin to think, and let's say you begin to imagine, and you start to open up this space of perfection, and you begin to get ideas of a new idea. Let's say this idea is foreign. You've never done it before. This sends a signal to the resonator. The resonator sends a signal up here, and it says, this is something you've never done. There's nothing in here. You cannot do this because there's nothing in here. So what happens? Your subconscious checks your idea before it's even processed. How many ideas have y'all had that you just let it go? Why? Because the subconscious mind's trained to monitor what you're thinking. And if it's beyond what you were programmed to do, it kicks it out. Do you not, let's say somebody like Tesla, Edison, or let's say some of the great inventors of now. Who do we have right now? What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Elon Musk. He can be standing next to you. Why is he getting different ideas and the other person doesn't? They're in the same space. Where's he getting the ideas from? He was programmed differently, yes. His parents were quite different. They were not normal, if you read their story. But that not normal set up ideas in his subconscious. He vibrates and thinks. He plucks and gets different ideas. Right? As we begin to think and we get these ideas, if it's foreign, if it wasn't foreign, means it wasn't for you. Think about that. Foreign means it wasn't for you. You don't have cells of recognition. We don't get what we want, we get what we are. Right. We get what we're in alignment with, what we're in vibration with. That's why we can go and do the past so easily, what we know. We can go do all this all day long. We can go back to our memory and we can just go right. All of us can perform more or less what our parents done. We can earn more or less the same amount of money. Majority of us have gone past that 15%, maybe 20%. But who's doubled, tripled, quadrupled, 10 times, 20 times, 1,000 times? That's rare. That's not normal. Why? Because we just don't know how to do it. It's not in the program. It's not in our archive. When we think from two places, from the archive or complete imagination. This is what has set up everybody's life, and they don't even know what is controlling the pattern plan, their life. The life plan. Look at this. 0 to 5 was the inception, and here comes this line, and I'll call this the pattern plan. Yes, it's said that we have free will, but how many of you really actually act out free will? How many of you have really just created your vision, the amount of money you're going to earn, what you're going to do and how to do it, and executed it right on target? How many have really exercised true free will? Or is your programming choosing the images of what's possible? When we begin to think, that means the brain and the mind begin to think, and they want to originate. Two things will take possession of the mind: the old beliefs, and it thinks, or a higher consciousness that's aware and becomes aware of itself to change the past, to change how it thinks. That's what I call intervention. There's very few people that intervene in their own thought, in their own mechanism. Normally, this program just thinks their whole life through. Plucking ideas from what it knows how to do, rearranging thoughts. How many times have you tried to change things up? You use your memory from the past, of what you were programmed, and you try to rewrite your story. You get more or less the same results. Why? Because we want more. But we can't have more. Something we feel that keeps blocking us in and stops you. The minute you try to go beyond what the belief knows how to do and you're trying to get out of this line, this program sends a signal. There's a cybernetic mechanism. How many people know about cybernetics? There's a cybernetic mechanism in animals and humans. What does that do, Emma? Machines and humans. What does that cybernetic mechanism do?
That you put me on the spot and I go blank.
Cybernetic mechanism. It's all yours. What does it do? Can you grab the mic?
It sets you back to homeostasis.
Yep. There's a cybernetic mechanism in humans and machines, and its job is to do what? Stop you right on your tracks.
It's like a thermostat.
It's a thermostat. The minute you're going beyond what you're supposed to do, you have an idea. You're down here. You're okay as long as you're flowing more or less what your beliefs say are okay for you to do. The minute you say, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go test this out, and it's beyond what you know, and you're using your imagination, this thing sends a signal to the body saying, you're not supposed to go there, and you're not supposed to do that. And it starts to send you every reason why you should abandon the project. Right? What is that? Cybernetic mechanism. They do these on missiles. And that's why the missile will travel, and it'll go, once they put the coordinates, it'll travel through. And if it gets veered off, that cybernetic mechanism tells it to get back on track. There's a cybernetic mechanism on all humans. All humans. That cybernetic mechanism is coded in that program. When you try to go beyond what you are, the cybernetic mechanism kicks on and it tells you to go back to where you were supposed to go, to act like who you're supposed to act, to be who your family told you to be. Our job is to be aware of who we truly are. That cybernetic mechanism releases what, Emma?
Fear, doubt, worry.
Which is released by a chemical called, who knows it? Cortisol.
Yes.
That cortisol is released in the brain, causes you to go to fight or flight. And this happened to everybody all over the world, and they don't even know it. And what do? We become aware that there's an issue, and majority of people retreat and go back to conformity, go back to safety. They go back to what they know how to do. And they don't break the plan. I've worked with a lot of people. And I've been testing this theory for years. And I know that if they don't consent, and if they're not willing to go towards the goal, and if they were not programmed to have that, the chances are they're not going to do it. Now, when I looked at the statistics, 97% of humanity are stuck. It is very rare that somebody is breaking the cycle. I set a goal that I would help anyone that came across my site that was willing to do the work, that I would help them break the code. I've had some people completely change. I've had people that were not educated, earning millions of dollars now. I've done that. They've done that. It wasn't me who did it. I gave them the knowledge, get them to understand themselves better. They did it. They changed themselves. I cannot change anyone. The only thing I can do is guide you. We help you become more aware, and we teach you how you work. But it's going to be up to the individual. I've seen people go back to what they were over and over and over, and this is completely normal. I watch people go back to their old job over and over and over. And I told them, you're going to find the fear. You're going to find the doubt. You're going to find the worry. And if you can't control the flow, you're going to go back to what you were supposed to be doing. Why do I tell them? So that they're aware. The mind has a power to put thoughts into formation only by emotionalizing with the thought. When thoughts and images are internalized, the mind begins to attach an emotion to these ideas and pushes it out into the universe, and out is expressions and experiences. Emma, when you started to get the idea that you wanted to go into business development, what did you do?
I started to think and hold the image of how that future me looked like, what she walked, talked, and I started to create a plan. So I needed to have a planner. I needed to be more organized. I needed to know and how my day would look.
Why?
Because I needed to do everything on purpose. If there was a place and I wanted to get there, then I had to be there now. I couldn't wait to be there.
Why?
Because then it would never happen. If I'm not it now, then I will never be it.
In the what?
Now.
In the now or the future.
Yeah.
Why? Because everything starts with thoughts, and if you don't control the thought, who's in control of you then?
My subconscious.
There you go. So
And I
this
don't
is,
have the program for that.
if we don't have the program to do the thing that we want to do, we go and do what we know.
Right.
You know how many people live like that their whole life? Check. Think right now. Think about everyone around you. How many people are living more or less the same lifestyle their whole life? Do y'all think that's an accident? Not anymore. Not anymore. If we want to go beyond what we are programmed to do, your self-image has to change. The way you think has to change. The way you imagine has to change. The way you feel has to change. Let's talk about feelings. And what does feelings tell us?
Feelings.
Yep.
Our feelings. So our feelings, ultimately, they're going to dictate what it is and how we go and act about a situation or thing.
Feeling is conscious awareness
Right.
of what?
Of our thoughts, of our vibration, where we're at.
Remember that thoughts
the
are
moment.
vibration. It's energy. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. It tells you what ideas you're using. The minute you feel fear, doubt, or worry, guess what you did? Or guess what did something for you? This thing started to get its what? Ideas from here, and it sent a signal, and you're feeling it. Not only are you feeling it, what are you doing?
You're acting it out.
You're setting up a law of what? Law of vibration, law of attraction. What do you get? More thoughts to take you in that direction.
Which is why earlier, whenever we had results up here, and whenever I was talking about most people, 97% of people don't think, they're not consciously aware, but they're looking out at their results. And that's what's creating their circumstances.
More of the feeling.
So then they get more of the same because they're looking outside of themselves, and because they're emotionally involved with that and with that idea, they're bringing more of the exact same thing in. It's kind of like, for example, those people that like wake up in a bad mood and then they go and they stub their toe, and then just everything else throughout their day just is like, they're like, dang, I just can't get a break today. But what did they just say? And what did they see? And what did they accept? And that's why they continue throughout their entire day to receive more of the same, because they accepted that.
How many times do you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about the same thing again? And majority of it is going to be things that are emotionalized. Majority of it will be negative. How many of you have a negative vibration in the morning or a positive vibration? Positive would be something uplifting, going up. Negative would be something that really got you ticked off. Go ahead, Arya. Good.
What'd she say?
Positive.
Positive.
The way you wake up is what you went to bed with. And what you go to bed with, you wake up with. And if you wake up every morning and you're firing and wiring the same signals, guess what your body's doing? Setting up a chain of events.
Creating a new norm, a new program.
And that may stay the same.
Habit.
So we've got to control the flow, positive vibration, positive ideas. And what do we tap into? Creativity. In a positive direction. Growth, prosperity. Negative vibration, we still tap into imagination. We still begin to think. How many people have used their imagination in the negative way? And they think of every reason how it can get really messed up. How many of you have taken an idea and you'll play with that idea till you really screw it all up, and you come back, you're like, whoa. And you just took a big old mind trip and you messed up your whole vision. Right? Why is that happening? Because you're not controlling the flow. That is. The old programs and beliefs. You will never understand this information until you can apply what we're teaching you. I want everybody to clearly understand. You never get the first lesson of this until you can apply it in action. The first lesson is whenever you actually start to use this information towards a goal. You can get all of this memory. You can have books of knowledge, books, and books, and you can put all that memory in here, all that memory. But if the memory never pregnated the body, if the memory could never move the body into that direction, you don't understand things. You just know about it. You don't know it. You should never change the page until you do what the page says. If you cannot do what the page says, it's because you still don't know how to take that idea and change the vibration in your body to go do the thing you don't know how to do and get into an alternate vibration. You still know what that knows. I've had people that are not getting results. Have the results changed? No. Then you still don't got it. You have to stay in this until you can actually exercise it in actions. When you can start to exercise the idea in actions and then change your vibration is when you're actually starting to learn this information. Because you're getting feedback from how you had to change your energy, to adapt to the change, to adapt to where you have to go. That's the first lesson. I was working with Victor, and we still work together. 7 years he was studying this information. He had books and books and read books and books and books of it, and he hadn't changed. He came and started to study with me. And within 3 months, he understood what he had to go do. For 21 years, he was picking up trash. 21 years. So this pre-belief in him caused him to move into 20 to like 41. 21 years. He went through a lifeline of experiencing a reality. He was experiencing his beliefs. Belief led him to go choose picking up trash and to get paid for that. For 21 years, he experienced that reality. It was real. What was he experiencing? The old images. In whose mind? In his. And he expressed it. 7 of those years, he was studying this information. He knew something was wrong, and he wanted to change the law of vibration. He was studying vibration and energy and all these things. But he still couldn't get his body to go commit to the new image. 3 months. 3 months. And in 3 months, between 3 months and 6 months, he was doing 21 times his annual income. 21 times his annual income. How is that possible? He switched the job. He created his own business. And then for 21 years, he was earning that in 1 month. 21 times his annual income, he was earning in 1 month. How is that possible? That's not normal, is it? How many people do you know change their self-image, go from here to way over here, and are now earning 21 times their income? He understood, and I got him to understand, having memory does not change the law of vibration. Because the law of vibration, the memory and the books must be transmuted beyond the intellect. This does not rule the body. The conscious mind does not rule the body. The subconscious does. The subconscious mind rules 98% of what you think and what you do. That's the key. How many people keep reenacting that 98% day after day? How many people relive the same day after day, the same day after day? Not just for a month. They've done this for years. What are they doing? 98% of their program is running the body. The body just moves into action. And they think that they're thinking, but who's really thinking? That is thinking. The program is thinking. Let's illustrate this. We have a child. The child is born. What does the child do? He's watching. And he begins to mirror what? What they're doing. Where's he getting his data from? The environment. Do you know how much energy it takes that little child? Think about this. Look at this illustration. How much energy does it take that unseen, the higher side of me, my higher side of my personality, which is essential, its essence? How much did it have to think just to barely move that finger, barely move that pinky? How much did it have to think to send the right neurotransmitters to go to that little finger and just barely move it? Now we're talking about this unseen power, right? Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. That energy that is unseen is a true you. And it's got to think to the point where it can move that little finger. How many times did it watch everybody moving, thinking, walking, and talking, and it began to mimic? What was it mimicking? What they're saying. So as we begin to think, we're mirroring. What do? We follow the masses. Why do we follow the masses? That's all we had for illustrations. So when it goes to go beyond what they do, we normally reject the idea and we go back to what we know how to do. And as you begin to think, what do? We took on that stored energy, and what does the child do? It begins to what?
Talk.
It begins to aspire. It wants to do more, but it's thinking from their ideas, from their lifestyle, from their programming. Some things are good, some things are bad. But we will always meet